Hey fish tank people, John 3107 2000 here. I figured I'd just do a quick update video. Something I've never seen on YouTube. There are 1,000 different videos on how to make CO2 reactors. I went through on my last video and talked about how a guy talked about the one bottle method was too spiky, promoting algae growth in your tank and so on and so forth, and that you should have 2 or more bottles. I went ahead and found a whole bunch of 1 liter Mountain Dew bottles. This is just my bubble counter. It's a Gatorade bottle, Powerade bottle, whatever. But back here, I don't know if you can see it. I'll try and flip on my light. Back there are 2 side-by-side 1 liter Mountain Dew bottles with the labels taken off, obviously. The first one that you can actually see has just water in it. The second one, I don't think I'll be able to get it, is actually has the mixture in it and is actually producing. There's a bubble there, and it'll come out of there and shoot across my tank. I don't know if it's going to make out any of those bubbles shooting across. Maybe. Yep, there you go. So it's all working. The part I haven't seen on YouTube is this right here. All these are check valves. They're to let the air flow one way but not come back the other. And basically what I've done is hooked up a quick connect system for this via check valves. Basically each one of my bottles just has a hose coming off to it, and then from every hose that I've taken from my bubble counter, I've put a check valve. Now careful, because they need to be facing different ways. The ones from the mixture to the bubble counter need to be pointing that way, into the bubble counter. The one obviously from the bubble counter to the tank, obviously, I doubt you'll be able to make that out, but obviously needs to be facing that way to get into the tank. So you do have to be careful, because you have 2 different pointing directions on the hoses. But as long as you keep that in mind and pay attention to that, this is just a quick connect system. I can have as many Mountain Dew 1 liter bottles as I want, ready to go. I can hook 2 up at one time, and if I wanted more, I'd just drill another hole into that and put another 2 with another check valve. But there really doesn't need to be 2 or more than 2. And you just stagger them. Once a week, you start a new bottle and you take the oldest bottle off. So like that one in the back, I started today, 5/16. So that actually has mixture in it. The second one just has water. But in a week, I'll take my 3rd bottle, which actually is right on the lower part of my stand, right here. Like I said, just has an empty hose coming off of it that I can plug in. But I'll start a new mixture in this, and I'll replace the all water. And that's just to take up room. Technically, none of the CO2 should be backing up the system into that. But just in case, the water's in there just to take up space, take up some of the volume of the bottle. So if the CO2 is getting in there, it doesn't need to fill the whole bottle. Again, it shouldn't, with the check valves on there, it shouldn't be getting in there at all. But I just put water in there just to be safe, just to make sure. Just to make sure it didn't have to fill up the whole bottle with CO2 before it started pumping into my tank. I will tell you, I've had this going maybe a half hour. So people who tell you you have to wait 1 to 2 hours for the system to pressurize, I don't know what they're doing, but it took like 10 minutes and I saw results in my tank. I activated the yeast first in a cup of warm water with a little bit of sugar in it. There's a cup and a half of sugar, one teaspoon of yeast, and I honestly don't know how much molasses I put in there. That's what gives it the brown color. I don't know how much. If I had to guess, I'd say probably a quarter of a cup. Probably. I just eye it till the water starts turning brown. And then I'm like, alright, that's good, you know. It's just more sugar for the yeast to break down to make CO2. So I just eyeball that. I just pour it in until the water starts turning brown. Then I'm like, okay, that's enough. But a cup and a half of sugar and a teaspoon of yeast activated. Let it sit in warm water, stirring occasionally for about 8 to 10 minutes. You'll see it start foaming up, looking like a freshly poured beer or something like that. But yep, that's all I have to do. So next week I'll start a new bottle going right here. And I'll just pull that water bottle off at the quick connect at the check valve and hook this one up. And bang, I'm ready to go. I just dump out the water and in a week pull the oldest one off and start a new mixture in that. And just, it's a quick connect system. I was a little worried that the system might leak a little bit, but it doesn't. I mean, I've had I've gone so anal that I've actually siliconed the lids of the bubble counters on to make sure it wasn't leaking any air anywhere. Siliconed around the check valves to make sure they weren't leaking on the line, and it doesn't make any difference. It's bubbling about once every 2 seconds after about a half hour to 40 minutes. So I mean, I think I'm probably pretty good in my pressurized system. You can see it coming out into the tank. So I'm obviously, if I'm losing some, I'm not losing much. And with changing the bottles once a week, you don't really have to be too worried about how much you're losing, because you're replacing the stuff so often that you're not really giving it a chance to die off, leak anywhere. Even if it is leaking, it's pouring more than enough into my tank. Sorry, I'm just getting back down. I will tell you one other thing I have not seen on YouTube that's going to come in mad handy for me. Just little innovations that I've thought of. Is this right here. Hopefully. I went down to Michael's and I bought this 4-pack for like $2, I think. And basically what this allows me to do, I take the black and I put the date on the bottle that I started the mixture. That way, because they're all Mountain Dew bottles, they're all the green. I've taken the labels off of all of them. There's nothing special about any of them. So what I do is I take the black window crayon and I write the date right across the middle of the bottle. That way I know I can't mess it up next week or in 2 weeks when I need to replace the mixture. I'm not taking the newer bottle. It'll be pretty obvious, I think, just from the color of the water, how it looks and everything else. But this is just another way, another fail-safe put in place to make sure you don't screw it up. And for me, that's always a good idea. So like I said, I just went down to Michael's, and Walmart might have them. I didn't see them there. But I went down to Michael's and bought this 5-set for like $2-3. I don't even remember. And like I said, what I do is right on the bottle. I'd show you, but you couldn't even see it. I wrote 5/16 on it so that I know in 2 weeks that's the bottle I need to take off. And every week I start a new mixture, I'll just write the date on the bottle. That way I can't mess it up. So, but those are just 2 quick things I did. I thought of as I was building this. Took me like 10 minutes. There's no silicone. I just drilled the hole smaller, tapered the end of the hose, and then used needle nose pliers to pull it through. Like I said, I've siliconed everything before, and I silicone nothing this time, and I'm getting about the same results into the tank. So as long as you use silicone airline, don't use the nylon airline, because the nylon airline does not give and stretch the way that the silicone does. So make sure you're getting silicone airline. It's a little bit more expensive than the cheap nylon stuff, and actually I can show you right here the difference. Sorry for all the getting up and down. But this is your silicone airline right here. This is your nylon, and I mean, you can just tell by squeezing it that this is rigid, brittle. This is nice and soft, pliable, malleable. This, not so much. A lot clearer. Probably doesn't show up so much in the tank. And I used it on this end because it doesn't matter. It's just going into the tank to the top of the filter. So it really doesn't need to be silicone because it's not going through anything. But all the ones that go into the caps are all silicone so that they can be, you know, squished, pulled through, and then they don't stay folded or whatever. They expand again to grab the edges of the drill hole that you put in there. So again, that's pretty important. I've seen that a lot on YouTube. I've actually heard a lot of people say, but they don't stress enough that don't get the nylon. I believe it's nylon. Airline. It's just too brittle, and it doesn't give and take like the silicone does. And I mean, you can use it, but you're pretty much going to end up drilling exactly the hole you need, and then you're going to need some kind of sealant to hold that, to seal it on the top of each of the bottle caps. But if you go out and spend, I think it's a little bit more for the silicone, by like a penny or two. But if you do, you don't need to worry about the mess and the hassle of dealing with the silicone to try to seal all this. I sealed nothing, and I'm getting a great rate. You can see it's getting to the bubble counter just fine. Got about a bubble every second and a half, and from there it's getting in the tank just fine. And I've sealed nothing. So just a couple of things that I saw. Couple of things that I noticed when I was doing this, getting frustrated. But yep, and I took that other sponge filter out and pushed the power filter that I hooked the CO2 to the back. So that's pretty much the tank. My little innovations. I hope it helps, guys. It's easy. Takes 5 minutes. Drill bit, needle nose pliers, pair of scissors, air hose, couple of bottles that you should have rolling around the house anyway. So, real easy to do, not time consuming, zip zap, done, and you have a nice CO2 reactor to throw on the tank. Again, for the diffuser, I just use a mini in-tank filter to throw it across my tank. All those people that spend $20 for a glass diffuser, I think that's crazy. I think that's absolutely nuts, because all you're doing is trickling it basically into the tank. I mean, if you're going to spend $20 on a glass diffuser, you might as well just take the air hose, drag it to the bottom of the tank, put on one of those little suction cup things, and just let the air hose hang out. Who cares at that point? Yeah, it's got a little sponge that breaks the bubbles up even more, but 90% of your bubbles are still getting to the top of the tank, directly above where you have the diffuser. It's not getting diffused around your tank. So anybody who doesn't have it on a power head or a filter, I hope it's working for you, but I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't spend money. If I was broke and had no other choice, I'd put it on an air stone or something like that, or make a homemade diffuser. But if I could afford it, and they're only, I think I bought that on sale at Petco for like $4. So I mean, it's nothing. Just pay attention and pick one up when you can. There, even a cheap power head. I got 2 Aqua Clear 20s from Petco on sale for $8 a piece. They were 80% off in a bin. They were just getting rid of them, and I bought them both. So those are going in my 55, one on each side with a CO2 reactor on them. So just pay attention. That's what I would do. That's what works for me. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope it's somewhat helpful. Hope it's not too shaky or dark. Rate, subscribe. Hope you guys like it. Later.